I'm talking like let's say I DM a girl or I get a girl number or, you know what I'm saying, a girl at the studio, just know my baby mama don't care.
Oh, shit.
Hello.
Oh, my God. No, drop me now.
Ty is losing his cool right now because word on the block is that King Harris might have gotten another woman pregnant. And this time, she's carrying twins. Yes, twins. If you thought the first baby situation had the whole internet gasping, this second one is already shaping up to be pure chaos. Let's rewind for a second. Remember how the first...
This a message for all y'all niggas who don't got y'all kid. My boy having kid every day. You feel me? Go get your damn children. Stop taking the children to your mama house. Your mama
announcement went down. It came out of nowhere. King popped up out the blue with Big Nana, and suddenly she's pregnant while nobody even knew if they were really a couple.
Hey.
That's why the first pregnancy already had so many people suspicious. People were saying she was older, that she planned it, that King got caught.
One day they're barely seen together, and the next, King is posting like he's a proud dad already. Even T.I. looked blindsided back then, and fans still gossip about whether it was just a fling that spiraled way too far. Now fast forward, imagine.
Hey, shawty, don't say you got a baby. I'm a good baby daddy. I ain't got no baby mama problems. My baby mama is one of the most player baby mamas, you know what I'm saying, known to mankind. So, like, what the f you talking about? Don't try to, like, you got a baby, you got, man, beat it. Mind y'all, if I'm talking like, let's say I DM a girl or I get a girl number or, you know what I'm saying, a girl at the studio, just know my baby mama don't care. So you cannot do like no, like don't try to pull like no King with no. My baby mama don't care. So you can't like, it's like you're not up in one, you're not like, you know, you're just here because I'm able to do.
T.I. finding out there might be 2 more babies on the way, and with a completely different woman at that. The family tree just got messier, and the internet is going crazy connecting the dots.
King went viral after getting into a screaming match with employees at the restaurant. He was loud, threatening, trying to prove he was tough in front of a crowd over some food. And this is the meltdown everyone couldn't stop sharing. King turning a late-night Waffle House run into a full-blown spectacle.
What? On game what? Okay, what? Come here. I'll show you what I do. Come here. Come on. We out here. I'm outside. Okay. I'm outside. Come on, shake some. Come on, shake some. Hey, get your employees. Yeah, fucking something in this. Tell your mama happy mother. And you still talking inside though. Why you inside? You can't stop me from doing shit. Let me get my food. Thank you. Just talking like they like that, they ain't like that. Before I get back here, piss.
People online are dragging up receipts saying King's been reckless for a long time. That whole situation with Big Nana, it never really looked like romance, more like co-parenting dressed up for the cameras. And now, with twins possibly entering the picture, the drama is hitting a whole new level. King himself even admitted that Big Nana let him see other women. No arguments, no scenes, nothing. That alone had people side-eyeing the whole situation. And when you mix that with his fights, his arrests, and his non-stop live stream stunts, it screams loud and clear. This is not a guy ready to handle 1 kid, let alone 3 kids under 2. Now the streets are asking, is the twin rumor real? And did T.I. really lose it on King about it? That's when the story takes a wild turn, because if there's one thing history has proven, it's that King knows how to drag his entire family into chaos without even trying. And here's the kicker. Before we even get into the alleged twin bombshell, we gotta rewind. The way King handled his first pregnancy is the exact reason fans believe this new rumor could be real. Nobody saw that first baby coming. King wasn't out here posting about some serious girlfriend. He wasn't talking about building a home. Nothing like that. He was still running the streets and chasing clout online. Then out of nowhere, boom, Big Nana pops up pregnant, and overnight, King's a dad. Even T.I. himself looked blindsided. You could hear it in the way he spoke later, like he had no clue this was part of any plan. It wasn't a family milestone. It felt like King just dropped the news on his parents at the exact same time he dropped it on the world. That moment sparked all the whispers, all the speculation, and it set the stage for every messy headline that followed. People online swear King got Big Nana pregnant off a casual hookup. Some even whisper it was on a groupie type vibe. Now, nothing's been proven, but that's the rumor that's been floating around ever since. And honestly, when you look at how fast the whole thing went down, it's not crazy to see why people ran with that story. One day, King's wilding out online, talking reckless, picking fights, acting untouchable. The very next day, boom, he's got a son, a baby mama, and a whole family scrambling to make it look polished for the cameras. Now here's the twist. If the first pregnancy already had T.I. frustrated and confused, just imagine his reaction to hearing about a second one. And with twins. That's not just deja vu, that's double trouble. And let's be real, from the start, King and Big Nana never gave in love. Their vibe has always felt more like a situation they were forced into rather than something they really chose. Fans noticed it immediately. Every time they showed up together, there was no spark, no warmth, no energy, just stiff body language and awkward smiles, like two people linked only by paperwork and a baby. The internet didn't miss a beat. Comments under their posts called it out every single time. People said they looked more like business partners doing damage control than a real couple building a future. And honestly, that's exactly the energy they gave off. Just watch that clip from the baby shower. Stiff hugs, fake smiles, the whole thing felt staged. That's why people were suspicious from day one. Whispers spread that Big Nana was older, that maybe she plotted the whole thing, that she saw an opportunity and made sure King was locked in. Whether it's true or not, the doubts never went away. And now, with new pregnancy rumors swirling, the internet is convinced history might be repeating itself. So here's how messy it got. People swore King got caught slipping with an older woman, and the internet ran wild calling her the girl who trapped him. But when folks actually checked the receipts, turns out she and King are basically the same age. Didn't matter though. Once the narrative spread, it stuck like glue. Everyone painted her as the one who locked him down, even when the facts didn't line up. And let's keep it real. King has never done much to change that picture. He doesn't show her off. He doesn't act like he's in love. And he sure doesn't make her look like the center of his world. At best, he posts her with the baby every now and then, just enough to remind people she exists. That doesn't scream happy couple, it screams two young parents trying to figure out how to coexist without killing the vibe completely. Just watch this video. It looks more like a roommate situation than a romance, which is exactly why nobody's shocked at these new pregnancy rumors. If the first foundation wasn't strong, nobody's surprised King might have been out here looking elsewhere. And that's where the story really flips, because King himself started spilling details about what his baby mama actually lets him get away with. The moment he opened his mouth, the internet knew drama was about to explode. On one of his live streams, King casually admitted that his baby mama doesn't even care if he's out here seeing other women. He said it like it was normal, almost bragging about it, like he was proud she didn't check him or pull him up on it. Think about that for a second. Most guys with a newborn at home would know better than to parade side chicks around. But King? He practically invited the chaos with that confession. But King? He's out here bragging that his whole setup is wide open. Basically, every time somebody spots him with another girl, the streets just assume it's fair game. And if one of those girls pops up pregnant, nobody's shocked. He even admitted it himself, straight up saying his baby mama lets him see other women as long as there's no drama. He didn't whisper it. He said it bold, like he was proud of the arrangement. That's exactly why these new twin rumors don't sound far-fetched to fans. If you're telling the world your baby mama lets you roam free, then of course people believe it when another woman claims she's expecting. They're like, well, he basically told on himself. And that also explains why his whole situation with Big Nana has never looked like real love. If she's cool with him doing his thing on the side, then what they've got isn't romance, it's an arrangement. She holds it down with the kid while he runs around unchecked, and King made it sound messy like that on purpose. But here's the wild part. T.I. knows all of this too. Imagine being a father, watching your son sit in front of thousands of viewers online, openly saying he can cheat without consequences. For T.I., who's had his own share of very public scandals, this has to feel like straight up deja vu, and not the good kind. So when whispers started spreading that King might have gotten another girl pregnant, the internet instantly pictured T.I. losing his mind over it. The thought of reliving his own mistakes through his son, that's a nightmare no parent with a spotlight wants to face. If the first baby blindsided T.I., this second one is looking like a full-on disaster waiting to explode. But here's the thing about King Harris. None of this really shocks anyone anymore. Long before he was a dad, King's name was already tied to drama, scandals, and pure chaos. Take the infamous Waffle House incident, for example. King went viral after blowing up on employees late at night over food. He was screaming, threatening, and trying way too hard to prove he was tough in front of a crowd. What should have been a simple food run turned into a full-blown spectacle. Clips spread across the internet like wildfire, with people clowning him for the meltdown. Even T.I. had to step in afterward, posting on Instagram, basically saying he had no idea why his son felt the need to act out like that. Imagine being a hip-hop legend, only to watch your kid trending for screaming at fast food workers, not exactly the legacy you want to see carried on. But that's King, always different, always finding a way to stir the pot. And then came the arrest that really made headlines. Cops pulled him over after he nearly crashed into a patrol car while leaving a gas station. When they searched him, they found a gun on his hip. And if that wasn't bad enough, it turned out he had an open warrant for skipping a court date tied to a DUI and a suspended license. The whole thing was messy from top to bottom. That was the clip that had everyone saying King was moving reckless. Reckless to the point of self-destruction. Seeing him cuffed up, shoved in the back of a police car while cameras rolled, it painted the picture of a young man spiraling in public right in front of millions of eyes. Moments like these painted a clear picture early on. King wasn't moving with discipline, focus, or even a plan. He was moving reckless, stacking up headlines for all the wrong reasons. And let's be real. When somebody already has a track record of fighting in public, catching charges, skipping court dates, and bragging about it all online, nobody expects them to suddenly calm down and play family man just because a baby shows up. People have been saying for years that King doesn't think before he acts. And honestly, that's exactly how you end up with situations like this. So when the whispers about twins started spreading, nobody even blinked, because chaos has always been King's normal. But for T.I., this was different. This was the breaking point. Think about it. The first baby already caught him off guard. 1 minute, King was just being messy online. And the next, he's announcing he's a dad while T.I. is forced to smile in public and play the supportive father role. Behind closed doors, though, you could tell T.I. wasn't happy about how quickly the whole thing dropped on him. He even admitted it himself during a podcast, confirming King was expecting and half joking that he might have to raise his son the same harsh way he was raised. That right there showed T.I.'s frustration slipping through, even while he tried to laugh it off. Now fast forward to these new rumors. Another woman, twins possibly on the way, and King out here acting like it's no big deal. That's the type of situation that would push any parent over the edge. And with T.I., who's always been protective of both his family and his image, sources online are buzzing that he straight up blew up on King. Word is, he reminded him that he's barely holding his first situation together, so how's he supposed to juggle another? Fans say T.I.'s blow-up wasn't just about the rumored pregnancy, it was about the pattern. The arrests, the live stream antics, the disrespect, and now dragging more drama into the Harris family name. T.I. spent decades grinding to build his reputation, and suddenly his own son keeps serving up headlines for the blogs week after week. And here's the twist. T.I. isn't new to scandal himself. He's had his share of ugly headlines over the years, but the difference is he knows firsthand how damaging that spotlight can be. He's old enough to understand how one wrong move can stain your name forever. Watching King march down that same dangerous road, only louder, sloppier, and way more reckless, probably feels like watching history repeat itself in the worst way possible. So if T.I. really did blow up on King, insiders say it wasn't just rage, it was fear. Fear that his son is setting up a cycle that'll be impossible to clean up. Fear that King might take everything T.I. worked for and turn it into a circus. And that fear is exactly why the fallout hit so hard. Because once the story hit the blogs, the internet went wild. Fans didn't hold back, and sympathy for King was nowhere to be found. One brutal comment summed it up. T.I. and Tiny created that monster. They thought his little smart mouth was cute. Now he's big and out of order. Spare the rod. That's the type of reaction that shows people aren't just blaming King. They're pointing fingers at his parents too, saying they let him run wild when he was younger. And honestly, fans have receipts to back it up. They pulled out throwback clips of King as a kid on reality TV, arguing with his parents, already loud, defiant, and challenging them on camera. The same mouth that once made people laugh on the show. It's now the same mouth that's getting him dragged all across social media. Another fan pointed out the double standard in the Harris household, writing, "So T.I. was always dragging his daughter to the gynecologist, while his son was the one running wild." That comment hit hard because it threw everyone back to that old controversy where T.I. admitted to policing Deja's body. Now fast forward, and it's his son who's out here moving reckless with multiple women. The irony wasn't lost on anyone, and people said it makes T.I. look even more frustrated. Like all his energy went into controlling the wrong place, while the real chaos slipped right under his nose. Clips started resurfacing of T.I. himself back then, saying straight out that he was taking his daughter to the doctor. That old scandal is now being used as a weapon against him, and fans are quick to call it karma. And of course, the child support chatter exploded the second twins got attached to King's name. One fan warned, child support is a MF. Yeah, King better stand on a lot of business because the judge is gonna stand on his bet. People were quick to remind him that just because he's T.I.'s son doesn't mean the system will cut him slack. 2 kids with 2 different women, that could get expensive real quick, and judges don't care about celebrity last names when paperwork hits the table. That's why this fallout feels way bigger than just gossip. It's not only about King maybe getting another girl pregnant, it's about how messy it makes the whole family look in the process. T.I. and Tiny are catching strays left and right. Old scandals are being dragged back up, and fans are already doing the math on how much drama and child support could pile up before King even turns 22. And if that wasn't messy enough, fans aren't just dragging King. They're putting the blame right back on T.I. and Tiny. Every new rumor feels like proof to them that the same parenting style that once looked entertaining on reality TV has now completely backfired. The smart mouth that was once a punchline is now a liability, and the parenting that once looked fun and free is now being labeled careless. So at this point, whether the twin rumor turns out true or not almost doesn't even matter. King has once again shoved his family into the spotlight for all the wrong reasons, and this time, the Harris legacy itself is being dragged down with him. Welcome back to Juicy Real, where we'll keep dropping the stories they wish stayed buried. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next bombshell.
So what you think is, it's an issue with the milk or?
Maybe because they just switched the caramel to the
Got your
robo.
I know you. I know you. Shut up. Shut up. I know you.
Ain't no mystery about here.
I know you though. I know you though.
Shut up.
I know you though.
You can talk to me. Until then, ain't nothing going. Call who you need to call. Do what you need to do. Ain't nothing happening. No money, no beer.
T.I. might have just set his whole relationship with his son King Harris on fire. He dragged his own son into court, demanding custody of his grandson, King Jr. That's right, T.I. wants full custody of King Jr. and his reasoning is brutal. He's saying flat out that King isn't ready to be a parent. And what's crazier, he actually predicted this months ago. According to T.I., King is too unstable, too unpredictable, and his reckless behavior is putting little Jr. in danger. T.I. isn't about to sit back and watch while King crashes out and drags his own son down with him. He's stepping in like a soldier in court, saying, "Enough is enough." But here's where things get messy. Will King roll over and let T.I. have his way, or is he ready to fight this battle until the bitter end? The tension is already sky high, and with family loyalty on the line, this courtroom drama could explode into something ugly real quick. Now, before we get into King's reaction and how he's taking all this, let's rewind for a second. This custody war didn't just pop up out of nowhere. The rumors have been swirling for weeks about tension inside the Harris household, and it looks like the whispers were dead on. Those quiet whispers turned into a bombshell reality when leaked court documents exposed the truth. T.I. isn't just talking tough, he's officially suing King for custody of little King Jr. And get this, it wasn't just some lawyer handling business in the background. Reports say T.I. sat down and personally wrote the judge himself, demanding that King be declared unfit as a father because he can't safely care for his own child. That one line in those papers flipped the entire situation upside down. T.I. wasn't just questioning if King was ready for parenthood, he basically stamped him as a straight-up danger to his son. That's when King completely lost it. In a flash, he stormed over to T.Y. and Tiny's house, scooped up his son, and bolted without looking back. No clothes, no bags, nothing. Just gone. Once he got far enough, he called up T.I. and unleashed pure fury over the phone. King felt stabbed in the back, humiliated in front of the world, and shattered inside. For him, this was the ultimate betrayal, and he wasn't about to swallow it quietly. But here's where it gets complicated. If you've ever watched how King is with Junior, you know exactly why he went wild at the thought of losing him. Say what you want about King being reckless, but when it comes to his boy, he's different. From the very moment he found out he was about to be a dad, he shocked everybody by stepping up. Back when Yaya first announced she was pregnant, King wasn't running. He was right there, ready to claim his role and prove people wrong. Everybody thought King would fold when fatherhood came knocking. With his track record of wild behavior, most people expected him to crash out, vanish, or just run from responsibility. But shockingly, that's not what happened at all. Instead, King leaned all the way into being a dad. And for a brief moment, it looked like fatherhood had finally tamed him. When little Junior was born, King was on cloud 9. He was so hyped, he even made a whole welcome song and dropped it on Instagram, captioning it, November 5th, 8:09 a.m. Welcome, King Jr., time to take over. That post had fans buzzing because King looked like he had finally found his purpose. For the first time, it seemed like being a father was the one thing powerful enough to ground him, to give him a reason to stay focused and leave the chaos behind. But the peace didn't last long. Soon enough, King's old demons came creeping back. The streets started calling and his reckless habits resurfaced with a vengeance. The biggest warning sign, the moment that slapped the family with reality, came when King was arrested. That arrest wasn't just a headline, it was a public disaster that humiliated the entire Harris family and put a big spotlight on just how unstable King really was. Overnight, the family name was dragged into the mud. The unity they tried so hard to show the world cracked wide open, and whispers turned into screams that maybe King wasn't as ready for fatherhood as everyone hoped. King wasn't just driving reckless that night. He came flying out of a gas station in his BMW and nearly smashed straight into a police car. In that split second, you could almost see his whole future flash before his eyes, like everything he'd been building was about to crash down. But once the officers pulled up, things went from bad to worse. They caught the strong smell of weed on him, and then their eyes locked onto a gun tucked in his waistband. That alone was enough heat to land him in serious trouble, but the real shocker hadn't even hit yet. When the cops ran his name through the system, what came back wasn't some minor ticket. It was a whole pile of mess waiting to explode. Turns out King had an outstanding warrant hanging over his head since 2022. Overspeeding, driving on a suspended license, a DUI he never took responsibility for. It was all sitting there like a ticking time bomb. Instead of facing it like a man back then, King thought his last name would shield him. He ran from accountability, hoping the Harris name would keep him safe forever. But this time, there was no running, no hiding. The cops slapped the cuffs on him right there, and when the arrest footage leaked online, it was brutal to watch. You could see it in his eyes. This wasn't just fear, this was raw regret. That look wasn't about getting locked up for a night. It was the look of a man realizing he might lose way more than his freedom. He might lose the one thing that actually gave him purpose. His son. Even the officer who cuffed King said something strange. He was unusually calm, but this wasn't maturity, not even close. It was the quiet of someone who finally realized deep down that he had crossed a line he couldn't come back from. That silence was the weight of regret sitting heavy on his shoulders. And when T.I. pulled up to bail him out, the scene wasn't just about a furious father. T.I. wasn't only angry, he was shattered. This wasn't some rapper's son getting caught in rapper problems. This was a dad staring at his own worst nightmare, watching his child walk the same dangerous road he once swore he'd never let him touch. In that exact moment, T.I.'s heart broke because he knew the truth. If he was constantly cleaning up King's disasters, then there was no way he could trust him to raise Junior alone. This was the nightmare T.I. had been running from for years. The prophecy he had already warned King about was coming true. Back then, he told him straight, "This lifestyle will land you in jail." And now it was happening, except this time, the stakes were higher. There was a baby's future hanging in the balance. Around 2022, when King started going viral for all the wrong reasons, T.I. went online practically begging his son to slow down. He warned him clear as day. If he didn't quit the reckless behavior, jail would be waiting at the finish line. T.I. even admitted he was constantly telling King's mom and grandmother to keep watch, to reel him in before it was too late. And this wasn't just tough love. T.I. wasn't trying to embarrass King. He was speaking from scars of his own past. T.I. had lived that reckless life, paid the price, and spent years trying to climb out of it. He knew the game never ends well. It either puts you in prison or worse. And the last thing he wanted was for his son to suffer through the same pain. But King didn't listen. He brushed off the warnings, thinking he was untouchable, and that's why he ended up not only humiliated by an arrest, but now staring down the possibility of losing custody of the only person he really lives for, his son. One of the biggest moments that showed just how far King had strayed from the straight path came in 2022, inside a Waffle House of all places. What started as a simple trip to grab some food turned into a full-blown meltdown that shook the internet. It all kicked off because of one tiny mistake. A worker accidentally put pickles on his order. That's it. Something that could have been solved with a quick, "Yo, can you fix this?" But instead of brushing it off, King snapped and lit the place up with chaos. He screamed across the restaurant, threatened to get the worker fired, and even pulled the ultimate spoiled move, flexing his money in their face like it was supposed to mean something. And here's the wild part. King recorded the whole tantrum himself and posted it online, thinking it would earn him respect and boost his image. But the plan backfired hard. Instead of looking tough, he came across like a spoiled kid throwing a fit, and the internet roasted him for it. Even worse, the fallout hit his parents like a storm. T.I. and Tiny had their names dragged all over social media, with people questioning their parenting and clowning the way they raised him. The family image they tried so hard to protect, it was getting shredded by a Waffle House meltdown over pickles. For T.I., this wasn't just some embarrassing scene. It was a clear sign his son was spiraling. King wasn't only screaming at workers and embarrassing the family, he was glorifying the very lifestyle T.I. had been warning him about. The reckless energy, the disrespect, the glamorization of violence. This was the line T.I. never wanted crossed. And watching King broadcast it proudly was like watching a nightmare play out in real time. King is always online, putting on this image like he's the toughest gangster alive, acting hard, flexing, and begging to be seen as something he's not. For T.I., this was a giant red flag because it proved his son didn't really grasp what it means to leave behind a legacy for his kids or guide a child onto the right track. Yeah, I had his own past with the streets and law enforcement, but he never glamorized that life. He hustled because he had to, and the moment he saw a way out, he took it. He didn't brag about the chaos, he escaped it. King, on the other hand, never even lived that struggle. He didn't grow up in the trenches or face the hardships T.I. survived. Yet every chance he gets, he's on camera reminding people how street he is, how tough he is, like it's some badge of honor. That fake tough guy act burned T.I. up inside because he worked hard to make sure King had a safe home, opportunities, and a comfortable life. The very things T.I. never had growing up. So to see his son throw all that away, chasing a street identity he never lived, that cut deep and created a constant tension between them. And then came the breaking point. During an Atlanta Falcons game, that tension exploded into public view. What started as a small argument spiraled into a scene that ripped the mask off their father-son relationship. In front of everyone, King looked his father dead in the face and said, "He didn't grow up with a silver spoon." That line was like throwing gasoline on fire. For T.I., those words weren't just disrespect, they were betrayal. Everything he had sacrificed to give King a better life was being thrown back in his face, and in that moment, all the cracks in their relationship split wide open for the world to see. Those words hit T.I. like a knife to the chest. After everything he sacrificed to give King a life of comfort, his son had the audacity to act like he never had it easy. T.I. fired back instantly, reminding him of the truth. King never once had to wake up with roaches crawling across his face, never had to wonder if there'd even be food on the table. Poverty was T.I.'s childhood, not King's. But King wasn't backing down. He clapped back, saying he grew up with his grandma in a rough neighborhood, trying to paint his childhood as harder than it really was. And right there, in front of thousands, it stopped being a simple father-son argument. It became two completely different versions of reality colliding in public. The yelling got louder, the tension snapped, and the anger boiled over into physical shoving. Clips of the blow-up spread online at lightning speed, instantly going viral. But behind all the screaming and chaos, what people really saw was raw pain. A father who had finally lost all patience, and a son who refused to back down, even if it meant humiliating his family in front of the world. That night exposed the cracks that had been hiding in their relationship for years. If they were willing to fight like that in front of a stadium full of people, fans couldn't help but wonder what was really happening behind closed doors. The internet lit up with comments, and plenty of fans weren't siding with King. They dragged him, saying T.I. should have checked him a long time ago. People laughed at King's street claims, writing stuff like, "The fact he thinks he came up in the streets or could really hang in the streets is hilarious." The crowd wasn't buying his story, and the backlash only made T.I. more convinced his son was living in a delusion. One comment online cut straight to the heart of the issue, and it blew up with hundreds of likes. He only gets passes because he's T.I.'s son. Let him run out there for real without that protection and see what happens. He don't know the streets, he just hung with a few. That single post summed up exactly how the public felt about King. He was playing gangster without ever living that life. Right there, King had a chance to stop, to retrace his steps and clean up his act. Especially with a baby on the way, the smart move would have been to grow up and step into real responsibility. But instead, he doubled down. More guns, more fake gangster antics, more reckless behavior that made people shake their heads in disbelief. And when T.I. saw the road his son was charging down, he came to a harsh conclusion. King was nowhere near ready to raise a child. The writing was on the wall, and every new stunt made the case against him stronger. Remember when Boozy and T.I. had to step in and check their sons on camera? That moment was telling. King and Boozy's son, Tootie Raw, had been caught shooting a music video that looked like a straight-up trap house. Guns everywhere, flexing like it was the real deal. That's when the dads had enough and jumped in. T.I. looked his son in the eye and scolded him, asking why he was so obsessed with pretending to be a gangster when there were other, better things right in front of him, like the girls crowding around, like the opportunities he was wasting. And he made one thing crystal clear. Playing with guns and glamorizing violence was a one-way ticket to prison. The disappointment in Tian's voice during that moment said it all. He wasn't just speaking as a rapper or a celebrity, he was speaking as a father who had lived through the pain, made the mistakes, and knew exactly where that lifestyle ends. The fact that King still went ahead and got himself arrested after all of T.I.'s warnings was the final straw. That was the moment T.I. stopped talking and started acting, because in his eyes, his son had left him no choice. And here's where it gets even more intense. You can clearly see how much T.I. and Tiny adore King Jr. From the second T, I found out he was going to be a grandfather again, he was glowing. He couldn't hide it. He went on a podcast and proudly announced the news like it was the best thing to ever happen to him. Every clip of T.I. with Little Jr. proves the point even further. Those videos go viral instantly, racking up comments with people saying T.I. looks more invested in raising that boy than King himself. And honestly, that's the heart of it. T.I. suing for custody wasn't just some ego move. For him, it's about saving a child before it's too late. He doesn't want to watch history repeat itself, and he refuses to let his grandson pay the price for his son's mistakes. But here's the twist nobody saw coming. King has gone completely silent. No posts, no rants, no clapbacks. And that silence, it's dangerous. It could mean he's plotting his next move in secret, ready to explode back onto the scene. Or it could mean, deep down, he already knows he's lost the fight. Either way, the next move King makes won't just affect him, it could shake the entire Harris family forever. This isn't just drama anymore. This is legacy, bloodline, and survival, all tangled up in one brutal family war. And if you want to keep up with the next chapter of this wild saga, make sure you smash that subscribe button to Juicy Reel, drop a comment with your take, and share this with your people. Trust me, the story is only getting messier from here, and you don't want to miss what's coming next.
Everybody know my son King. He's a passionate young man.
He's very passionate.
Yeah, and he has some tumultuous times. But the Lord ain't through with him yet.
That's right.
Thing the world say about me is a lie. I don't give a damn. I don't really care too much. It didn't affect me. That just made your source. That just made your information that you talk about.
It all began with a mysterious 32-second video that no one expected to see.
Much criticism as I receive about my son, I would like to shed light on the fact. We all got bad kids, okay?
The clip allegedly showed King Harris, the son of T.Y. and Tiny, caught up in a private moment with another man.
Dad kicked me out. Then my dad, I don't know, whatever they said was happening. Whatever they said supposedly happened. You know what I'm saying? Still believe in it. Everything the world say about me is a lie. I don't give a damn. I don't really care too much. It didn't affect me. That just made your source. That just made your information that you talk about now.
This wasn't some random rumor floating around the internet. It was a full-on leak that felt way too personal to be an accident. And here's where it gets real messy. This tape didn't just show up on shady websites. Word is, it got delivered straight to T.I. and Tiny themselves through a private group message. That move had people screaming sabotage because whoever did it clearly wanted to strike where it would hurt the most. The whispers got louder when insiders claimed the leak didn't come from hackers at all, but from someone much closer to the Harris family circle. That twist made the whole situation feel even more dangerous, like betrayal brewing from the inside. Sure, the clip got yanked off major platforms within hours, but we all know how the internet works. Once something like that hits the net, it's out there forever. And if this is just the beginning, then buckle up, because it's about to get crazy. The thing about the internet is simple. Once something's out, you can't put it back. Even though the clip vanished from the big platforms, people still had it saved in their DMs, tucked away in private group chats, and passed around in circles where nobody could track it. That's when whispers turned into full-blown chaos, with talk that this one video could tear down everything the Harris family has been building for years. But here's where it gets even more scandalous. Rather than rushing to publicly support his son, Ty allegedly went straight into crisis mode. Sources claim that within hours of the clip landing on his phone, he was already dialing up his lawyers, private investigators, and a PR team like a man on a mission. That lightning-fast move told the world one thing loud and clear. T.I. wasn't chasing answers, he was chasing control. Behind the scenes, the family was split. Tiny, reportedly devastated, was said to be begging King to stay strong and embrace his truth. But T.I., insiders say he was on a whole different wavelength, thinking not about feelings, but about headlines, sponsorships, and brand survival. To him, emotions could wait. Protecting the Harris empire was the only priority. For T.I., this whole mess wasn't just about King. It was about empire protection. We're talking money, live shows, podcast contracts, endorsement checks, and that squeaky clean image he's been polishing for years. The thought of one scandal smashing all of that? Unthinkable. But then things got even nastier. Atlanta started buzzing with whispers that the other guy in the video was suddenly arrested just days later, and not in some random charge either. The paperwork lined up way too neatly. Blackmail, revenge porn, privacy violations. People started connecting the dots and saying, wait a minute, this can't just be a coincidence. And that's when the theory really caught fire. Was this T.I. sending a warning shot? Like, don't even think about leaking anything else? But here's the part that sent shockwaves. Multiple sources swore this wasn't the only tape floating around. That first clip, just the tip of the iceberg. Rumors exploded that more footage existed, and that the man allegedly tied to King was threatening to dump everything unless he got paid off big. That's when the whole thing turned into a war zone. T.I. wasn't about to sit at a table and negotiate. Insiders say he was done playing nice. Instead, he was ready to go full force, activating his squad, pulling strings, and keeping tabs on anyone who might have their hands on the footage. The craziest part? King didn't even know any of this was happening at first. By the time he finally realized, his dad had already turned the situation into a battlefield. By the time King even caught wind of what was happening, his father had already turned the whole thing into a straight-up legal war. T.I. was busy locking down the Harris family image while Tiny was on the other side falling apart. Insiders say she couldn't wrap her head around how her husband moved so fast to protect the brand, but didn't even stop to ask their son how he was holding up. Tiny was said to be crying, saying, "My baby," while T.I. kept pushing forward with damage control. That split showed fans something they had suspected for years. T.I. and Tiny never agreed on how to raise King. T.I. was all about the tough love routine, while Tiny leaned heavy into emotions and nurturing. And when that tape dropped, the difference turned into a straight-up household divide. Behind closed doors, arguments reportedly got heated, with Tiny begging for a public statement, while T.I. shut it all down quick. It didn't stop there. Tiny even pushed for King to hop on Instagram Live and clear the air himself. But T.I. allegedly shut her down again, saying that would only pour gasoline on the fire. He wanted silence, not explanations. And here's the twist. This whole mess exposed something about King's upbringing that fans never really knew. Viewers of Family Hustle thought they were watching a picture-perfect household, with those fancy dinners and staged family moments. But King later admitted the truth. He spent most of his time being raised by his grandmother, far away from that glossy Atlanta mansion everyone thought was real life. King didn't hold back when he finally spoke on his childhood. In one clip, he flat out admitted he lived with his nana full time, only getting picked up when T.I. and Tiny needed him for filming. That bombshell flipped the whole narrative on its head. Suddenly, the story wasn't about a spoiled celebrity kid acting reckless. It was about a boy who never really had his parents around the way the cameras made it seem. King even said, "It don't matter what I'm going through, I love my nana through it." And that line hit hard. Instead of looking like privilege gone wrong, King's so-called wild behavior started to feel like the scars of neglect. And it wasn't just King telling that story. Zanique, Tiny's daughter, also came forward and revealed she too grew up mainly under her grandmother's roof, while her mom and T.I. were locked in on building careers and chasing empire dreams. That's when fans began putting the pieces together. Those perfect dinners, family hugs, and picture-perfect moments on Family Hustle, they started to look more like stage scenes for the cameras than the real deal. And once the cracks started showing, people finally understood why King always looked out of step with the Harris brand. He might have been in the spotlight, but behind the cameras, he was never really part of the fold. And when the scandal broke wide open, King didn't hold back against his parents, especially his dad. The family tension hit a boiling point in a live stream that went viral earlier this year. T.I. tried to act like the proud father who raised King with a silver spoon, but King snapped back hard, calling the whole narrative fake. He wasn't afraid to expose the lie, even if it meant embarrassing his father in front of the world. King shocked thousands when he went live and said point blank that when life got rough, it wasn't his superstar parents who held him down. It was his grandmother. That raw confession had the internet in a frenzy, and it flipped the whole Harris family image upside down. According to King, T.I. and Tiny cared more about polishing their brand than actually being there for him when he needed them most. And the tension didn't stay trapped behind screens. Sources whispered that the father-son beef exploded in real life, with things allegedly getting physical. At that point, the drama wasn't just a private family problem. It was unfolding in real time, right in front of the public eye. Every move, every rumor, every clash, it was all spilling online, and the Harris brand was taking hit after hit. By now, fans weren't just questioning that leaked tape anymore. They were questioning the entire story T.I. had been selling for years. And just when people thought it couldn't get any messier, another plot twist dropped. Big Nana entered the picture. For those out of the loop, King started dating Big Nana in late 2023, and the internet lit up instantly. She was older, louder, and already had her own name buzzing online, which made their relationship one of the most talked about pairings in the scene. Social media split wide open with hot takes, some saying it was love, others saying it was pure chaos waiting to happen. But the most explosive part? T.I. allegedly couldn't stand her from the very beginning. Word is, he thought she was nothing but a clout chaser, riding King's last name for fame. And then, just a few months into the relationship, Big Nana dropped a bombshell. She was pregnant. Overnight, King wasn't just fighting his parents. He was about to become a father himself. The pregnancy news lit the internet on fire. Some people cheered, others dragged King for it. But behind closed doors, the situation was way messier than anyone realized. And then came the real shocker. When that infamous tape of King first leaked, Big Nana supposedly had a copy too. Sources claimed she received it the very same day T.I. did. But unlike him, she didn't rush to lawyers or PR teams to clean up the mess. Nope, she allegedly kept it saved, refusing to delete it. Insiders whispered that she may have even used it as leverage against T.I., threatening to drop it herself if he kept trying to paint her as a gold digger. Others believed she was keeping it as her own insurance policy, ready to defend her spot in the Harris family picture if things ever turned against her. Now with a baby on the way, one thing was clear. Big Nana suddenly held all the cards. She had the child, she had the tape, and she had the power to flip the whole narrative whenever she wanted. And for once, T.I. couldn't do a thing about it. But the story took an even wilder turn when King openly admitted to cheating on Big Nana. And here's the kicker. She didn't lose it, didn't cry, didn't cause drama at all. Instead, she brushed it off like it was nothing, staying completely cool with the situation. That reaction had fans scratching their heads and connecting dots fast, because King never revealed who he was cheating with. And that silence sparked whispers that maybe it wasn't another woman at all. Speculation spread like wildfire that King was secretly seeing a man on the side, and suddenly those leaked tape rumors started making a whole lot more sense. If that was the case, everything fit together in a way nobody was ready for. The so-called cheating scandal started looking less like betrayal and more like a deal, an arrangement that worked for both sides. Big Nana got the fame, the lifestyle, and the constant exposure that came with being tied to the Harris name. Meanwhile, King got the space to quietly live his truth without the internet tearing him apart with judgment. Scandalous for outsiders, sure, but for King, it looked like pure survival. And just when everyone thought the drama was locked on King, another twist pulled the spotlight back to Harris's firstborn son, Messiah. Fans of Family Hustle always remembered Messiah as the calm, respectful one, the soft-spoken brother who stayed far from the chaos while King hogged the attention. But then, without warning, Messiah vanished from the public eye. No explanation, no farewell, just gone. At first, people shrugged it off until some blurry photos surfaced online. The shots appeared to show Messiah hugged up with another man, and that's when the rumor mill went into overdrive. Suddenly, his quiet disappearance didn't look random anymore. It looked like strategy. Insiders whispered that I wasn't just uncomfortable with the speculation, he was downright furious. Not furious at Messiah himself, but at the potential headlines that could stain the family's carefully polished image. Allegedly, T.I. made a choice. Phase Messiah out, quietly but completely. His public appearances got cut. His presence in family promos shrank, and before anyone realized it, Messiah was no longer part of the Harris brand at all. No big statement, no emotional farewell, just silence, an erasure, just silence. Messiah never clapped back, never dropped a cryptic rant, never dragged the family on social media. He simply faded away. And that quiet exit only made people more curious. Fans started digging, asking if history was repeating itself all over again with King. That's when the bigger picture came into focus. This wasn't just about the Harris family anymore. It tapped straight into a much larger, much darker conversation about Atlanta's hip-hop scene. One of the city's worst-kept secrets is the so-called down-low culture, where the image you sell to the public rarely matches the life you live behind closed doors. In rap, masculinity is treated like currency. Any slip, any hint of softness, or whispers of same-sex rumors can put a career in jeopardy. That's why so many in the industry end up living double lives. They put on the hard mask for the cameras, while in private, they're navigating a completely different world. A world built on secrecy, exclusive parties, NDAS, and unwritten rules that everybody in the inner circle understands, even if the names are never spoken out loud. And that's exactly what made the alleged King tape so explosive. It wasn't just messy gossip, it was a violation of that unspoken code. Because if word spread that T.I.'s son, raised under the shadow of one of rap's most hard-nosed figures, might be connected to that hidden scene, it wouldn't just shake King's world, it would rattle the very foundation of the Harris brand itself. That's why T.I. allegedly snapped into full-blown crisis mode, determined to bury the footage no matter the cost. But here's the irony. Fans are saying his desperate scramble only made things worse. By fighting so hard to lock down the story, he didn't kill the whispers. He turned them into wildfire. Suddenly, everybody was talking, everybody was speculating, and T-Word's every move was under the microscope. The backlash online was brutal. Comment after comment accused him of caring more about protecting his brand than protecting his own kids. One viral post hit the nail on the head. He's worried about the brand more than his family. When his kids need him, he protects his name instead. And that's the narrative haunting him now. T.I. being painted as more CEO than father, more businessman than dad. And just when it looked like the drama couldn't escalate further, the whispers got even darker. Word on the street was that the leaked clip wasn't even the main event. It was just a warning shot. Sources claimed King's alleged partner had more tapes stacked up, and he was threatening to release them unless serious money was paid. If true, it explained perfectly why T.I. was moving so aggressively, locking down lawyers, investigators, and PR soldiers before anyone else even blinked. But the scariest rumor, insiders suggested this wasn't some outsider attack at all. It might have been an inside job. Someone close to the Harris circle, someone who knew how to push the right buttons, might have helped feed the leak from within. And if that's the case, the Harris empire isn't just fighting enemies outside, it's rotting from the inside with betrayal sitting at their own table. That's when people started whispering that T.I. was spiraling into straight-up paranoia. He was allegedly cutting ties with longtime friends, checking phones like a detective, and even shutting down group chats just to keep the circle tight. By then, the empire he built wasn't just under attack from the outside, it was being ripped apart from the inside. What was once a dynasty now looked more like a battlefield. As the dust started to settle, the Harris household wasn't just drowning in gossip, it was living in a war zone. Trust inside the family was cracking by the day, and that glossy family hustle image was crumbling faster than ever. Those close to Tiny claimed she was reaching her breaking point. She felt like she was always the one forced to patch up T.I.'s messes, protecting his ego while watching her son get dragged through the fire. One insider even spilled that Tiny confided to a friend, "It's always King in the line of fire, and I'm done watching it happen." That one line showed just how deep the divide had gotten inside the mansion. The brand that once screamed family unity was now fractured, with everyone quietly choosing sides while pretending things were fine in public. Even the other Harris kids were allegedly pulling back, not because they didn't love King, but because they were exhausted from the endless chaos. They were sick of propping up the perfect family illusion, while the truth behind the scenes was the complete opposite. Imagine waking up every day knowing your family drama was the internet's latest headline. That's the nightmare the Harrises were living. Your family fights spilling onto live streams, your father's reputation taking priority over your well-being. That's what insiders claimed was really happening behind the cameras. While T.I. was busy battling the media, his own house was crumbling from the inside out. And as the chaos played out in public, the internet kept buzzing with one chilling question: what else was still hiding in the shadows? Rumors of another tape started spreading like wildfire. This one wasn't just about exposure. It was allegedly King going all the way in, openly speaking on Harris family secrets that were never meant to see the light of day. If that footage ever dropped, it wouldn't just be embarrassing, it could be devastating. Fans speculated that King might reveal things about his parents, about the brand, maybe even about scandals so deep they could blow the entire Harris empire to pieces overnight. That possibility had people saying this was bigger than gossip. It was a ticking time bomb, and the darkest twist? Multiple sources whispered that the original leak might not have been an outsider attack at all. It could have been an inside job. That theory rattled the entire Harris circle, because if betrayal came from within, then no one was safe. T.I.'s paranoia reportedly went through the roof. Word was he started locking down group chats, cutting off longtime friends, even demanding phones be checked like he was running an investigation inside his own mansion. The fear got so heavy that insiders claimed even the Harris kids stopped talking in their own family chat, too scared that anything they typed at night might end up blasted across the blogs by morning. If you've been locked into this roller coaster, hit that subscribe button to Juicy Reel right now, because trust me, the tea is only getting hotter, and you don't want to miss what's next.
Harris?
You know T.I.?
Huh?
T.I.?
Who's that?
That's my father.
No, I don't. Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Didn't he just retire? Or
Yeah.
say he's gonna retire?
Yeah.
Okay. How old are you, man?
20.
20?
Yes, sir.
There's one in the head.
Does your buddy have one as well? All right, just hang tight right here for me. Let me clear this. I don't want any accidental fires.
Welcome back to Juicy Reel, where we break down the drama, the chaos, and the stories Hollywood tries to hide. Tonight we're diving into something wild. T.I.'s worst nightmares turning into reality.
So what they say my warrant for?
So your warrant is for a failure to appear. Dispatch is going to call in and make sure it's still valid.
Failure to appear where? I didn't have no court dates.
It's for a DUI out of Pickens County.
Out of Pickens County? The only DUI, I had a suspicion of a DUI a long time ago, and
For years, T.I. has been warning his son, King Harris, to slow down before he crashed his whole future. But now the whispers are louder than ever. A judge could slam King with a brutal 5-year prison sentence. And here's the crazy part.
Nothing's in there. Come back so we can figure out what the fuck I got going on. There's nothing in the fucking car.
T.I. himself called this way back in 2022. He straight up said if King didn't get his act together, the streets and the system would eat him alive. And let's be real, is anyone really shocked right now? Because King's track record has been screaming trouble for years. From that reckless driving stunt
Will be used against you in the court of law. You have the right to talk to a lawyer and have him or her present with you while you're being questioned. If you cannot afford to hire a lawyer, one will be appointed to represent you before any questioning if you wish. You can decide at any time to exercise these rights and not answer any of my questions or make any statements.
to the viral Waffle House brawl to flashing weapons like trophies in his music videos, King's been moving like the rules don't apply to him. Each move looked like a spark, but now the whole house is on fire.
Ain't nobody getting nothing going. Nothing. Call who you need to call, do what you need.
That 2024 arrest footage exposed everything. Cops caught him swerving like he was invincible, almost crashing straight into a police car. When they finally stopped him, boom, weed in the ride, a gun strapped to his hip, and just when you thought it couldn't get worse, an old 2022 warrant came crawling back to haunt him, locking in his fate like a trap he set for himself. This isn't just another celebrity kid gone wild. This is a storm brewing that could leave King behind bars for years. It was like every reckless move King Harris ever made came crashing down on him all at once.
As much criticism as I receive about my son, I would like to shed light on the fact. We all got bad-ass kids, okay? Now listen, don't.
Every bad choice, every wild stunt, all stacking up until the whole pile finally toppled over. And now people are asking the question nobody wants to say out loud. Did T.I. fail at raising his own son? T.I. is staring at a reality that no father ever wants to face. His son could be slapped with a 5-year prison sentence. For years, T.I. tried to warn the world. If King didn't slow down, if he kept living reckless, he'd end up either in a cell or worse. And now, in a cruel twist, it looks like T.I.'s own prophecy is coming true before his eyes. The chaos started back in October 2024, and it all played out like something out of a movie. King, behind the wheel of his BMW, pulled out of a gas station in Atlanta and nearly smashed straight into a police cruiser. The officers hit the brakes, pulled him over, and immediately picked up on that strong smell of marijuana seeping from the car. But that was just the start. Because when King stepped out, he had a gun holstered right there on his hip, like he was untouchable.
Patient with staff.
But what I'm saying is, they wasn't.
You can talk like that outside.
Hey, I can talk how the fuck I want to wherever I'm at. I'm on live, shawty. Stop talking to me. Stop talking to me. This ain't your fucking restaurant. This ain't your fucking restaurant. Everything you make, I can pull out my pocket right now. I ain't tripping on you.
And then the hammer dropped. Once the cops ran his ID, the situation went from bad to devastating in seconds. Suddenly, this wasn't just a traffic stop. It was a full-blown disaster with years of trouble stacked against him. And here's where it gets even messier. Turns out King had a warrant hanging over his head all the way back from 2022. And no, it wasn't for some minor slip-up. That warrant was tied to charges of speeding, driving on a suspended license, and a full-blown DUI. Instead of facing the music in court, King straight up dodged the hearing for 2 years, letting the shadow of that decision follow him everywhere. And when October rolled around, that ghost finally caught him in the flesh. Cops didn't play around. He was arrested on the spot, first dragged into DeKalb County Jail, then shipped off to Pickens County to answer for the old warrant. The system wasn't letting him slide anymore. It was time to pay up. And the arrest report, cold, detailed, and humiliating. The officer wrote, "I informed Mr. Harris I would need to speak with him outside and opened the driver's side door. Mr. Harris was cooperative and I removed the firearm from his hip with no issue. I then had Mr. Harris step out of the vehicle and I detained him by placing handcuffs on him." Imagine that the son of T.I. standing silent while his gun got taken right off him like he was just another suspect on the block. Within hours, the footage spread like wildfire. Fans watched in disbelief as King, who had just been showing off luxury cars and flexing his lifestyle on Instagram, was now being pulled out of his ride, cuffed up and shoved into the back of a police vehicle. The image was chilling, the flashy young rapper stripped of everything but the hard truth of his own actions. But for T.I., none of this was shocking. Back in 2022, he and King went viral after clashing on Instagram Live in a heated back and forth that had everybody talking. In that moment, Tip didn't mince words. He warned his son straight up that the path he was choosing would only end in two places: behind bars or in the grave. He even went as far as saying, out of raw frustration and fear, that King could find himself serving 5 years in prison if he didn't wake up. And now, with the way things are looking, that father's prophecy is cutting closer to reality than anyone expected. Now that chilling warning from T, I feels less like fatherly advice and more like a prophecy carved in stone. King's behavior didn't just pop up overnight. It spiraled in plain sight, step by reckless step, until the crash became impossible to avoid. The world saw him throw hands in that infamous Waffle House brawl, and it wasn't just a scuffle, it was chaos caught on camera. He hopped on social media bragging about the so-called street life, flexing guns in his music videos like he was untouchable, and posting clips of himself smoking without a care in the world. Every time his parents tried to guide him back, King shut it down, acting like advice was poison and discipline was an insult. To outsiders, it looked like teenage rebellion. But T.I. knew better. He saw a dangerous pattern that looked way too familiar. Because Tip had lived it himself. He wasn't watching a random kid wild out. He was watching his own son mirror the same mistakes he made years ago. T.I. knows that road better than most. The prison time for weapons charges in the late 2000s, the mugshots, the trials, the struggle to rebuild his life. But unlike King, Tip fought to flip his story, becoming not just a rap star and actor, but a community leader who preaches growth and redemption. For years, he tried to hand down those lessons like armor, warning King, showing him the scars, trying to make him understand before it was too late. But like so many fathers and sons, the message got lost. King brushed it off, acting like his dad's wisdom was just tough love or empty threats, and that's what makes this sting so deep. Because now those words T.I. once said, time is gonna be his teacher. They don't just sound like a warning anymore. They sound like the hard truth waiting at King's doorstep. With his arrest already in the books and court dates looming heavy, it looks like time really might be the only thing left strong enough to humble him. The truth is, King's downfall didn't come out of nowhere. His reckless driving, the viral headlines, the run-ins with cops, they've all been adding up like puzzle pieces spelling disaster. And now, that picture is clear. A young man pushing limits without caring about the crash on the other side. Then came the moment that turned into a full-blown scandal and the infamous Waffle House altercation. What should have been nothing more than a small dispute exploded into chaos, caught on camera for the world to see. Instead of brushing it off, the clip went viral, painting King as entitled, aggressive, and reckless. Even T.I. admitted he couldn't wrap his head around why his son acted that way, pointing out it looked like pure pride and impulse running the show. But the real red flag came later when King was spotted alongside Boozie's son, Tootie Raw, during a music video shoot. The two of them weren't just rapping or vibing, they were on camera flashing guns, trying to sell the world on a street credibility image that could only end in danger. The sight set off alarms, not just for fans, but for their fathers. Two men who knew exactly how deadly that lifestyle could be, because they'd lived through it themselves. T.I. and Boozie stepped in, trying to throw their sons a lifeline with hard-earned wisdom, warning them that glamorizing violence was a road paved with funerals, handcuffs, and broken dreams. But the lesson? It barely sank in. King looked unfazed, as if the warnings were just background noise he didn't care to hear. That string of reckless stunts painted a dangerous picture, a young man spiraling out of control, testing boundaries and ignoring every guardrail his parents put up to protect him. And that's what cut T.I. the deepest, because for him this wasn't abstract. He already knew exactly where this road led. He'd lived it, the mugshots, the prison walls, the lost opportunities that haunted him for years. Tip tried everything to shield King from the same pain. Guidance behind closed doors, discipline when the cameras were off, and even public warnings when his frustration boiled over. But no matter how hard he pushed, King kept veering back toward the fire, almost daring fate to catch him. T.I. once admitted that sometimes, no matter how much wisdom a parent drops, only time itself can teach the lesson. And that truth hits harder than ever in King Harris's case, because his story took a twist nobody saw coming. In November 2024, just weeks after his headline-making arrest, King stepped into a whole new role: fatherhood. He proudly welcomed his baby boy and even dropped a track titled Dear Son, where he rapped about wanting to step up and be the kind of dad he wished he had growing up. For a brief moment, it looked like this new chapter might save him, that fatherhood could be the anchor pulling him out of chaos and grounding him in responsibility. But reality doesn't play fair. The joy of holding his son was quickly drowned out by the heavy shadow of his legal troubles. Instead of basking in the glow of being a new dad, King was staring down court dates, old warrants, and the very real threat of a 5-year prison sentence. The contrast couldn't have been sharper. On one hand, a young man trying to embrace fatherhood, rapping about love, legacy, and change. On the other hand, the wreckage of reckless decisions, all lined up and waiting to strip him away from that very future he was promising to his son. And of course, the internet wasted no time jumping in. Social media lit up with hot takes. Some people clowned him for trying to act like a family man, while his rap sheet told another story, while others actually praised him, hoping fatherhood would be the turning point to finally humble him. Either way, King's life was split in two, half baby bottles and lullabies, half mugshots and looming trials. The second news of King's arrest and looming charges hit the internet, social media went into meltdown, everybody had an opinion, and they weren't holding back. Some critics aimed straight at T.I., accusing him of failing as a father despite all the warnings, lectures, and public guidance he had thrown out over the years. But others pushed back, showing sympathy for both Tip and King, pointing out the truth. Parenting ain't easy, not even with fame, money, or privilege. Raising a headstrong son under the blinding spotlight of the internet, that's a battle no parent wins without scars. The online chatter turned into a messy cocktail of mockery and cautious hope. Some users clowned King, cracking jokes about the irony of flexing cash, cars, and guns on Instagram, only to end up in handcuffs like a walking cautionary tale. Meanwhile, others tried to spin it as a possible turning point, saying maybe fatherhood would finally slap reality into him, that having a child depending on him could be the one thing strong enough to pull him back from disaster. But the arrest footage itself added gasoline to the fire. Viewers couldn't stop dissecting every second. The way King stayed calm, almost too calm, as officers pulled him from his BMW and cuffed him. To some, it looked like he knew the cameras were rolling and leaned into it, playing the scene like he wanted to go viral even in that low moment. That sparked an uncomfortable question nobody could shake. Was King's recklessness really just pride and impulse, or was it all about validation? Was he chasing attention so badly that even being infamous was better than being ignored? Or was this the reality of a young man trapped between two worlds, born into the privilege of a superstar family, but addicted to projecting a hardened street image he couldn't let go of? Either way, the internet had made up its mind. King Harris was no longer just T.I.'s son, he was a walking headline, and the world was watching to see if he'd break or bounce back. Now here's where the story hits its deepest cut. As King Harris stares down the very real possibility of a 5-year prison sentence, this mess goes way beyond the courtroom. This isn't just about a judge, a gavel, or a jail cell. It's about legacy, fatherhood, and the brutal challenge of breaking cycles that destroy families generation after generation. For T.I., the whole situation is a painful deja vu. He's forced to sit back and watch his son stumble into the same traps he once fell into, despite years of pouring out wisdom, warnings, and hard truths. It's like watching history repeat itself in slow motion, only this time it's not him paying the price, it's his child. And that's what makes it sting so badly. Tip has been brutally honest about his past, about how prison time for weapons charges shaped his life and forced him to grow. He's turned that pain into purpose, rising from inmate to rap star, actor, and even a community voice for change. For years, he's been telling King that discipline, responsibility, and accountability aren't just words, they're survival. But reality? It's colder than any lecture. Because no matter how many times T.I. tried to redirect him, no matter how many public clashes or private talks, King kept brushing it off, choosing pride over guidance and risk over wisdom. Tip warned him that fame and money mean nothing if you pair them with reckless choices, because all it takes is one bad night to make it all vanish. And now the harsh truth is standing in front of them both. Some lessons can't be handed down no matter how badly a father wants to save his son. Some lessons can only be burned in through hard experience. And for King Harris, that experience might mean learning behind bars, with nothing but time, silence, and the weight of his own choices pressing down on him. And now we're left staring at the big question, what happens next for King Harris? The court dates are looming, the charges are stacked, and the 5-year sentence hangs over him like a storm cloud ready to burst. But this story isn't just about one young man wilding out. It's about the weight of a famous name, the curse of legacy, and the dangerous dance between privilege and destruction. Because let's keep it real. King grew up in luxury, but he's been fighting his whole life to prove he's real. That hunger for validation has pushed him closer and closer to the edge, and maybe even over it. The internet sees him as T.I.'s son trying too hard to wear a crown he didn't earn, while others argue he's just another kid caught in the same cycles his father already fought to escape. Either way, King's every move is being judged, recorded, and replayed like a public trial before the real one even begins. And here's where the pressure really kicks in. King isn't just fighting for his freedom, he's fighting for his identity as a father, an artist, and a man. His baby boy is growing while he risks being locked away. His music is out there, but his reputation is collapsing under mugshots and headlines. And T.I.? He's standing on the sidelines, forced to watch as his son tests everything he tried to shield him from. Some say prison will break King, others say it might be the only thing strong enough to rebuild him. But one thing's for sure, the world is watching every step. Will King flip this downfall into a redemption story like his father did? Or will he become another cautionary tale of fame, pride, and wasted potential? One wrong move could define him forever, and one right one could rewrite his entire legacy. If the judge decides to hit King Harris with the full sentence, it won't just be another headline. It'll be a brutal public reminder of what happens when reckless behavior spins out of control. Behind the flashing lights, the viral clips, and the gossip, there's a family struggling to hold it together under the harsh spotlight of fame. Parenting is tough for anybody, but when you're T.I. and your every move is magnified by millions, the pain, the disappointment, and the frustration cut 10 times deeper. And the internet, it hasn't made things easier one bit. Some people are dragging T.I., calling him a failed father who couldn't control his son. Others are clowning King's downfall, making memes out of his arrest like it's entertainment instead of a life unraveling. But then there are those who actually see the human side. A young man, a new father, caught at the crossroads of destruction and redemption while the whole world watches. This isn't just a legal battle. It's a story about legacy, mistakes, and the question of whether cycles can truly be broken. Will King serve time and come back stronger, or will this be the chapter that defines him forever? That's the real drama the world is waiting to see. Now, I want to hear from you. What's your take on all this chaos? Is King Harris about to face the harshest wake-up call of his life, or is there still hope for him to flip the script? Drop your thoughts in the comments because the debate is just getting started. And make sure you smash that subscribe button to Juicy Real, where we keep you locked in with all the biggest scandals, celebrity drama, and stories they don't want you to hear. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next.
T.I.'s son, King Harris has been arrested after not appearing in court and some other things connected.
Trying to coddle him for. Let the man walk off, have some time to himself, sit down, soak it up, and come up with what he need to do.
Yeah, so him being arrested isn't really like the shocker. It's him coming out and his, I guess, reaction to it, right? Because everybody's saying, King, you grew up privileged, bro. Why are you going down this path? Now he's talking about F the police, F12, so, you know.
Welcome back to Juicy Real, where we crack open the wildest celebrity scandals, the raw street drama, and the untold stories everyone else is too scared to spill. Right now, nothing has the streets buzzing louder than the Harris family's nightmare.
Steve Sadar reached out to me looking to make a deal on behalf of T.I. and Tiny. And I told Steve Sadar that my clients want justice. So if the deal involves Tiny and T.I. turning themselves in and admitting to the crime that they've committed, then fine, we got a deal. But if it does not, then I would prefer to have the investigators do their work and to bring criminal charges against Tiny and T.I.
But this time, it ain't about diamond chains shining under the club lights or some viral Instagram meltdown. No, this is about survival in the coldest, most unforgiving place on earth. Prison.
So the dynamics here are interesting, but I can't judge how the parenting is gone, because everything that we've seen has been stuff that many of us would have said or similar if we saw our children do this. But I will say this, a lot of what's happening is because it's in the public. like most children, don't have to do this in the public.
King Harris, the son of rap icon T.I. and Tiny, is fighting for his life in intensive care after a brutal ambush that's shaking hip-hop culture to the core. Sources say this wasn't just a prison fight, it played out like a gangland movie scene. King got jumped inside his block so violently that correctional officers had to drag his body out just to stop the madness. Witnesses described total chaos, fists flying, bodies crashing, and blood on the floor as the tier erupted into a full-blown riot. And the aftermath, chilling.
I graduated. That's the only good thing they posted of me going viral. I'm not on the media's good side. I don't know why, but it ain't.
T.I. and Tiny's boy was left swollen, battered, and barely conscious, while multiple inmates limped away covered in bruises. This wasn't random. Insiders swear it looked calculated, like somebody wanted to send a deadly message. This wasn't some random scuffle in the yard. Whispers are already calling it a planned hit, and the motives behind it might be darker than anyone dared to imagine. Inside those Georgia prison walls, the story-making rounds is bone-chilling. This wasn't about proving toughness or settling some small-time beef. No, this was a full-blown ambush, set up with precision, designed to strip King Harris of every ounce of pride. Inmates allegedly plotted for weeks, waiting for the right moment to strike.
I really admire his dedication and commitment to the craft, because, I kind of told him, what was wrong about it. Making mistakes. I ain't had no daddy who would pull up and get on my ass anytime. Things I did, you can't get away with.
I know that.
Man, damn. Yeah, that's I ain't see that one coming. You know
Really?
what I mean? Nah, I didn't.
Goal, to humiliate him, to make him pay for what they saw as non-stop flexing. The flashy lifestyle, the rich kid aura, the last name that carries weight on the outside but means nothing behind bars. Others are saying this was a cold warning. In prison, Instagram followers don't buy you safety, your daddy's fame don't protect you, and chains can't shield you from pain. Behind those gates, only loyalty and raw toughness keep you breathing. Weakness makes you prey, a former inmate revealed, and right now, King is learning that brutal lesson in real time. As soon as word leaked, the internet caught fire. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, every feed lit up with mixed reactions. Some fans are devastated, sending prayers and begging for his recovery. But others, they're cold, mocking him, dropping comments like, "King finally met the real world and couldn't handle it." The divide is savage, sympathy on one side, ridicule on the other, and every minute that passes, the noise just gets louder. That online chaos only cranked up the pressure on the Harris household, and insiders swear the family is in full-blown panic mode. Ty hasn't slept a wink since the ambush, pacing floors and working the phones like a man possessed. He's calling attorneys, politicians, and anyone with the slightest pull inside the Georgia Department of Corrections. One Atlanta insider even spilled that Tip is ready to do whatever it takes, sign NDAs, cut massive checks, make backroom promises, anything to pull King out alive before another deadly strike hits. Meanwhile, Tiny's running her own war room, handling publicists, lining up media allies, and coordinating with lawyers on every angle. But here's the bombshell, that famous Harris unity is starting to crack. Behind closed doors, the whispers say arguments are explosive. Sources claim they're pointing fingers, throwing blame, each one accusing the other of letting King fall into this nightmare. And their closest friends? They're worried the fights aren't even about strategy anymore. Some say the couple can't tell if they're battling for King's survival or just battling each other. Either way, the stakes are deadly serious. Their son's life hangs by a thread, while the foundation of their marriage shakes harder than it ever has before. The unshakable Harris dynasty, the one that looked bulletproof on TV, now looks like it's unraveling in real time. And just to twist the knife deeper, rumors are swirling through Atlanta's streets and the prison yard alike, whispers that make this whole story even murkier. and way more dangerous. Whispers are flying that King's prison nightmare wasn't random at all. Some claim he got caught up in a botched contraband deal. Word is, he either refused to play along with the wrong crew or tried to finesse them, and inside prison, that's a death wish. In there, loyalty is currency, and one broken promise can put a target on your back instantly. Insiders close to the investigation even allege King was lured to a specific corner of the prison, a setup from the jump, where 3 men were waiting to pounce. And here's the shady part. The surveillance cameras in that exact spot mysteriously went dark. The Georgia Department of Corrections insists there was no glitch, but let's be real. Nobody's buying that story. As one of TV's former road managers put it bluntly, it's Georgia. Cameras break when they need to break. That line alone says it all. And while King's condition stays touch and go, the Harris family's inner turmoil is boiling hotter than ever. Fans can't forget the chaos that already spilled into the public months ago, especially that infamous Atlanta Falcons game incident. Remember when T.I. straight up put King in a headlock on Instagram Live after yet another screaming match about his upbringing? The clip had the whole world talking. The moment was raw. T.I. yelling, "You are embarrassing yourself and your family," while security scrambled to separate them, and Tiny begged everyone to calm down. Back then, the internet thought that was King's rock bottom moment. But now, this savage prison ambush proves the fall goes even deeper. King's lying in a hospital bed fighting for his life, while his family's private implosions explode all over social media for the world to see. And just when you thought it couldn't get uglier, the next layer of this scandal makes the Falcons game look like child's play. Prison insiders are saying King wasn't just attacked because of his last name. He was hunted for the shadows that have followed his parents for years. Word inside those walls is that he got taunted non-stop about T.I. and Tiny's most infamous scandals, especially those old trafficking allegations that the family has always denied, but that never fully disappeared. And in prison, gossip like that isn't just talk, it's ammo. Making things worse, King reportedly added fuel to the fire himself. Even behind bars, he couldn't stop flexing for social media, calling out rivals, posting slick messages, and trying to hype himself as Atlanta's next big star. But the older inmates, they weren't impressed one bit. One ex-inmate told us straight up, "We don't care who your daddy is. If you don't pay what you owe, or you run your mouth, you get handled." That's the rule inside, and right now, King is learning that rule the hard way, in blood. Meanwhile, T.I. is scrambling to save his son with every move he's got left. Sources say he's privately threatened to blow the lid on prison conditions if the Department of Corrections doesn't protect King. At the same time, he's allegedly feeding stories to friendly media outlets, trying to shift blame away from King and onto a corrupt system. Classic celebrity crisis management, but the clock is ticking and threats keep hanging in the air. The haunting question, is it already too late to pull him out alive? And deeper than that, maybe this was destiny. Maybe this is what happens when you raise somebody to feel untouchable, only for reality to swing back harder than anyone ever expected. Because according to whispers spreading through the prison corridors, this wasn't just a beatdown. It was a message that King Harris may have crossed the wrong people in a way he'll never recover from. In prison, some mistakes you just can't walk back from, and insiders say King Harris made one of the deadliest. Word is, there was a contraband deal floating through the block, and King either tried to back out or pulled a slick move that rubbed the wrong people raw. Behind those walls, betrayal ain't just bad business. It's a straight-up death warrant. One chilling whisper makes it even darker. King's name allegedly popped up in a contraband ledger tied to a broken promise. And in prison, broken promises are settled only one way, in blood. But the rabbit hole goes even deeper, because this isn't just about contraband. Some inmates are saying King's last name itself is a curse. The Harris name has always attracted attention inside the system, but this time, the spotlight turned toxic. Those old trafficking allegations that T.I. and Tiny denied years ago, they still linger in the air, and King couldn't shake the shadow of them. Inmates mocked him, clowning him as soft, and whispering that the same scandals that stained his parents were now painted across his back like a bullseye. And then this King's own reputation, loud, flashy, acting like he was the star of the yard. That kind of energy breeds resentment fast, stacking tension like sticks of dynamite just waiting for the spark. For some of the older prisoners, it wasn't even personal anymore. It was symbolic. Even one correctional officer admitted off the record that high-profile inmates like King become pawns in someone else's power struggle, trophies in a game where the rules are written in blood and betrayal. And if that's true, then King isn't just fighting enemies in the yard. He's trapped in a war way bigger than himself. When a celebrity steps into prison, he ain't just another inmate. He becomes a bargaining chip, a living trophy, a walking statement. One former Georgia inmate broke it down perfectly. You take down the famous one, you send a message to everybody else. And that's exactly what many believe went down with King Harris. Taking him out wasn't just personal. It was power politics, a way for gangs to stamp their dominance across the entire yard. But while prison turns King into a pawn in somebody else's game, back home, the storm is tearing his parents apart. Behind closed doors, insiders say T.I. and Tiny's arguments have turned volatile. Tiny is furious, blaming the broken system, blaming outside influences, and painting their son as a victim trapped in injustice. But T.I., he's holding firm, swearing that discipline and powerful connections are the only weapons they've got left. Tiny's fighting with heart, while Tip is playing chess with politics, and the divide is splitting their marriage right down the middle. What was once the tightest unit in hip-hop royalty now looks like it's buckling under the pressure. And here's the kicker. One insider close to the couple didn't sugarcoat it. This is worse than the lawsuits, worse than the reality TV scandals. The fallout is uglier than anything they've ever faced. The harder they scramble to contain the mess, the louder and messier it explodes for the world to see. Family, friends are split right down the middle over how to handle this crisis. Some are warning that if the Harris crew keeps dragging the Georgia prison system through the mud, it'll only make King an even bigger target inside. But others argue silence looks like surrender, and the Harris name can't afford to look weak in front of the world. Every leak, every anonymous guard whisper, every tip that slips out just pours gasoline on a fire that's already blazing across social media. Fans are connecting dots between the family's old scandals, resurfaced lawsuits, and now this bloody ambush. And the picture they're painting looks uglier than anything the Harrises ever imagined. And let's not forget, this ain't King's first brush with controversy. The internet still remembers his reckless social media antics, calling out rivals, flashing stacks of cash, and hyping himself as Atlanta's next wildcard. On the outside, that was entertainment. Followers ate it up. But behind bars, that same energy branded him as a target from day one. Other inmates mocked him constantly, laughing behind his back, calling him fake tough, a kid who grew up in luxury, cameras, and security, now trying to play gangster in the yard. To them, he wasn't a threat. He was a spectacle. And a spectacle inside prison doesn't last long before becoming a liability. Because in those cold concrete walls, psychological warfare is just as deadly as fists and shanks. The laughing, the taunts, the humiliation, all of it chips away at a man until he breaks. And for King Harris, the line between humiliation and a death sentence is getting thinner by the day. Every rumor, every stare, every whispered warning in that prison feels like the first domino tipping toward another ambush. And with King's privileged upbringing being no secret, he became the perfect punching bag for resentment. Private schools, reality TV fame, bodyguards, and high-powered lawyers, all the things most inmates can't even imagine, turned him into a neon target glowing in the dark. Some inmates straight up hated him for it. Others felt insulted by the way he tried to act tough, like he could play the same game they've been surviving their whole lives. And a few, they just saw him as a pawn in a bigger chess match, a pawn they could sacrifice to make a statement. Either way, King's celebrity didn't protect him. It betrayed him. His fame was both his weapon and his downfall. And while chaos swallows him inside, the Harris empire is starting to shake outside. The spotlight is dragging the other kids into the mess, forcing them to dodge messy paternity rumors and old disputes that were supposed to stay buried years ago. The line between private heartbreak and public scandal, gone, completely erased. Now everything is spilling out with no filter, and the family can't control the narrative anymore. The same spotlight that once built their brand is now ripping it apart piece by piece, and the emotional toll is savage. This isn't some canceled TV deal or an embarrassing viral meltdown or even lawsuits blowing up in the headlines. This is bigger. This is about their son's life and the Harris family's legacy. Every headline makes it worse. Every whisper of betrayal piles on another layer of danger, and every public statement they drop feels like another gamble that could backfire at any second, turning survival into a losing hand. The Harris family has always thrived under the spotlight, but right now, that spotlight feels like poison, dripping on an open wound. And here's the coldest truth of all. The justice system doesn't bend for celebrity. It doesn't care how many platinum plaques your father sold or how many seasons your family lit up reality TV. Behind bars, fame doesn't protect you. It exposes you. Inside those walls, fame makes you bargaining chip, a spectacle, a headline just waiting to explode. And for King Harris, that last name isn't a blessing anymore. It's a liability, one that's threatening his very survival. Because that prison ambush, insiders warn it wasn't just one attack. It might have been the opening chapter of a saga darker than anyone's ready to face. Now whispers are spinning. Is King simply paying the price of arrogance, or is there a deeper conspiracy running underneath it all? A contraband deal gone bad, enemies plotting in the shadows, and a system that's failed him long before he had the chance to prove himself? As T.I. and Tiny fight desperately to pull strings, protect their son, and keep the Harris legacy from collapsing, one haunting question hangs heavy in the air. Is King just another casualty of fame colliding headfirst with brutal reality? Or is he the first domino in a chain reaction, one that could blow the lid off secrets this family has tried to bury for years? From the moment King Harris stepped inside those concrete walls, the countdown started, and every move since has been building toward this brutal climax, a climax that could shatter not just a young man's future, but the dynasty his parents built in blood, sweat, and scandal. So stay locked in with Juicy Real, because if this storm explodes any further, you'll want the truth before it hits the headlines. Subscribe now and don't miss a single twist in this unfolding saga.
Everybody know my son King. He's a passionate young man.
He's very passionate.
Yeah, and he has some tumultuous times. But the Lord ain't through with him yet.
That's right.
There's a wild 32-second clip flying around, and it allegedly shows T.I.'s son, King, caught in an intimate moment with another man. This didn't just show up online by accident. Insiders say it was personally sent to both T.I. and Tiny in a group message. And get this, it wasn't some random hacker or internet troll who leaked it. Word is the clip came from someone deep inside their circle. The video's been wiped off all the big platforms, but it's far from gone. It's still bouncing around in private DMS and tight-knit group chats, and it's threatening to blow up the entire Harris family legacy. And instead of stepping up for his son, what did T.I. allegedly do? He tried to cover it all up. Now it's total chaos behind closed doors. Tiny is reportedly begging King to go public and just speak his truth, while T.I. is allegedly throwing out threats to anyone who even dares whisper about the video. But it's way too late for damage control. That tape already landed in exactly the right or wrong hands. The second that tape hit his phone, T.I. didn't even flinch. He went into full panic mode. Sources say within hours he had lawyers, 2 private investigators, and a PR expert locked in and ready to move. But they weren't calling in help for King, nah. They were scrambling to erase the tape from existence no matter what it took. People close to the Harris family say the pressure is boiling, and this might just be the scandal that cracks everything wide open. For more raw drama and exclusive tea, make sure you hit subscribe on Juicy Real. Sources say T.I. had a name within hours, and he wasn't looking for explanations. He wanted revenge. No time wasted. Word on the street is his first move was to hunt down who leaked that tape. And that's when things got real shady. T.I. wasn't just trying to get to the bottom of it. Insiders say he wanted someone to pay. Here's where it gets wild. Rumors on Twitter are buzzing that King's alleged partner in that video, the other guy, was picked up by police just 48 hours after the tape exploded. Now, it wasn't for the tape itself. Officially, it was over charges like revenge porn, privacy violations, and even blackmail. But let's be real, that timing sounds way too convenient, right? But hold up. That arrest? It might not have been about justice at all. It was a warning shot. A message straight from T.I. to anyone else thinking of leaking more. Because the streets are now saying this wasn't the only tape. There's more. Multiple sources claim the man in the video threatened to release everything unless he got paid. But T.I., he wasn't playing that game. Instead of negotiating, he went straight into boss mode, picked up the phone, and called in his squad. But here's the twist. King didn't even ask for backup. He found out about the tape after his parents did. By the time he stepped in, this wasn't a family convo anymore, and it was a full-blown legal war zone. And T.I., he wasn't asking how his son felt. He wasn't trying to talk it out. His mind was locked on containment. This wasn't about protecting King. It was about protecting the brand, the podcast, the TV shows, the endorsements. The whole Harris empire was suddenly on shaky ground. And the scariest part, it wasn't even what already leaked. It was the fear of what else could still drop. If that first clip was real, what else is out there? And who has their hands on it? Subscribe to Juicy Real right now. You don't want to miss what's coming next. While T.I. was out here trying to cover his tracks, Tiny was deep in mom mode, and not the PR kind. She wasn't stressing about headlines or blog gossip. She was worried about King. Insiders say Tiny flipped out when she found out the whole thing was already being handled in secret, without King even knowing. And that's when things started to get ugly. T.I. refused to budge. To him, going public meant feeding the blogs, the trolls, and every hip-hop insider waiting to sink their teeth into this story. But to Tiny, keeping it in the dark only made things worse. That's where the real fracture started. And it's been brewing for years. Fans have noticed how T.I. and Tiny raised their kids totally different, especially when it comes to King. T.I.'s always been that tough love, put it on blast kind of parent. Meanwhile, Tiny's been the emotional support, the soft spot, the one who tries to understand. And people have talked. Some say it's made King look unstable, like he's caught in the middle of two totally different worlds. Now that difference in parenting is turning into a full-blown battle. Sources close to the family say their argument over this leaked tape blew up into one of the worst fights they've ever had behind closed doors. And guess who's stuck in the middle again? King. Tiny wanted to release a statement to get ahead of the mess. T.I. allegedly shut it down. Tiny suggested King hop on IG Live and tell his side. T.I. said no, said she was blowing it up even more. But here's where it all starts to crack open. Ever notice how King always seemed like he didn't quite fit in? Like he was part of the brand, but not really part of the family? Hit subscribe on Juicy Real now, because what's coming next might finally explain why. There's a real reason why King Harris always felt like the odd one out, and it's got nothing to do with attitude. Behind all those polished family dinners and made-for-TV moments on The Family Hustle, King was living a whole different life. While cameras showed marble kitchens and mansion vibes, King, he was being raised full-time by his grandma. In one clip, King himself spills the truth, saying he stayed with his nana most of the time and only got picked up when T.I. and Tiny needed him on camera. That little moment shattered the entire image folks had built about him. For years, people labeled King a spoiled kid acting wild just because he could, but what if he wasn't spoiled at all? And here comes the real twist. He wasn't the only one. Tiny's daughter Zonique revealed something similar. She said she also grew up mostly with her grandmother while her mom and stepdad ran things from a distance. So all that tight-knit family energy we saw on screen, allegedly fake. The unity was just a script, and fans are now realizing the family we thought we knew may have never really existed. Now think about it. Is it really that shocking that King didn't feel safe opening up to them? When your life feels like a movie set, when your values tied to being good TV, what happens when you become the scandal? And don't forget, one of the biggest live stream moments of the year was King and T.I. going head-to-head in front of thousands. That wasn't just a disagreement. That was years of hurt boiling over. This one wasn't about music, wasn't about fame, wasn't even about the blogs. This was about identity, and everything came crashing down in real time. It started with T.I. doing what many dads do, trying to check his son by claiming King grew up with a silver spoon. Classic, I gave you everything energy. But King, he wasn't here for the lies. Instead of backing down, King fired right back, saying it hit hard. He exposed the whole narrative as fake. Said when things got tough, he wasn't running to some luxury mansion. He was heading straight to grandma's house. The same people claiming they raised him? King made it clear. They were more about keeping up appearances than protecting him. And when that live stream cut off, the drama didn't end, it exploded. Insiders say the argument spilled into real life fast, with reports that T.I. even physically tried to restrain King, either to calm him down or just to silence him. The vibe, tense, explosive, and far from father-son love. Then King took it to Instagram and let everything fly. In now deleted stories, he stood 10 toes down, posting, I stand on business, don't give a FK who you are, I gaff who you are, myth can't play with me in my face, not going for it. I'm a grown man now, if I'm a mistake, say that, stop making the world think you FW me when you don't. That right there? No cap. The energy was pure hurt and built up pain, and it wasn't just a rebellious son lashing out. It was a public unraveling of a carefully curated image. And just when you thought this couldn't go any deeper, guess who pops up next? Don't blink. Hit subscribe to Juicy Real. Big Nana's about to shake the whole table. So let's talk about Big Nana. Yeah, that Big Nana. She and King allegedly started dating around late 2023, and right from the jump, the internet was confused. She was older, louder, and already had her own fan base. T.I., he wasn't feeling it at all. Word is, he thought she was just clout chasing off his son's name. But things move fast. Next thing we know, boom, pregnancy announcement. King's about to be a dad, and social media was eating it up like popcorn. But behind closed doors, it was a whole different movie. Because while the public saw baby news, T.I. still didn't trust Big Nana, not one bit. Then came the bombshell. That same tape, the one allegedly showing King in a moment with another man. Guess who else had a copy? Big Nana. Insiders claim she got that tape the same day T.I. did. But unlike him, she didn't hand it over. She allegedly kept it and refused to delete it. Some say she threatened to leak it herself if T.I. kept pushing the gold digger narrative. Others claim she's just holding on to it for protection, to make sure T.I. doesn't try to write her out of the Harris family story. Either way, it's clear now. She's sitting in the power seat. She's got the baby, she's got the tape, and allegedly she's got the leverage. Now here's where it really gets messy. King admitted he's been cheating on his baby mama, and guess what? Big Nana's totally chill about it. But here's the plot twist. He never said who he was cheating with, and the streets are whispering. It might have been a man this whole time. Maybe that's why the relationship works. She gets the fame, the lifestyle, the spotlight, and he gets to live his DL truth without judgment. The wildest part, he's out here flexing the cheating like it's a badge of honor. Stay locked in and subscribe to Juicy Real, because this saga is far from over. Now this is where things start to feel way too familiar, like we've seen this play out before. Because before King Harris became the center of the family's biggest scandal, there was Messiah, T.I.'s firstborn, the quiet one, the one who stayed out of the mess, or so we thought. Let's rewind for a second. Messiah Harris, now in his early 20s, was one of the OG cast members on The Family Hustle. He played his part, calm, respectful, musically gifted, a total contrast to King's wild energy and off-the-chain behavior. While King brought the chaos, Messiah was the balance. He never chased clout, never made noise, and then suddenly, he vanished. At first, nobody thought much of it, but then, the whispers started. Quiet talk about a possible same-sex relationship. A few blurry pics hit the internet. Messiah hugged up with another guy. Could have been a close friend, but the blogs ran wild. And just like that, a new narrative started brewing. Sources close to the Harris circle say T.I. didn't take it well. Allegedly, he was not comfortable with the rumors, and even less comfortable with the idea of Messiah becoming another headline in the blog-fueled gay rumor mill. So what did he allegedly do? He cut the cameras. Messiah slowly disappeared from the show, the brand, the spotlight, all of it. No big drama, no scandal, just gone. And let's be real, it's starting to look like a pattern. It ain't the first time T.I. allegedly tried to control the narrative, but this one hits different. Even after everything that's gone down, Messiah still never exposed his family. No interviews, no tell-alls. He just disappeared, quiet, loyal, and that silence, it speaks loud. But here's the thing, pushing Messiah out didn't kill the rumors. It only made people look harder. And now, it's bigger than just the Harris family. What's going down here is part of something way deeper, something baked into the core of Atlanta's hip-hop culture. Let's talk about one of the city's worst-kept secrets, the down-low scene in ATL. In this world, masculinity isn't just about image, it's about survival. In rap, it's not up for debate. You have to walk, talk, and act a certain way. Step even slightly outside that box, and you risk everything, your brand, your money, your name. That's why so many artists live double lives, fronting as straight in public, living differently in private, and there are whisper networks, secret texts, NDA-only parties. Everybody in the industry knows who's who, but no one ever says names out loud, because outing someone, that's not just gossip, it could end careers, which is exactly why King's alleged tape wasn't just some messy drama. It was a threat, a direct hit to the carefully built illusion. The idea that a rapper's son, born, bred, and raised in ATL, and son of one of hip-hop's ultimate man's man figures, could be involved in the DL scene, that would shatter everything. T.I. knew that. That's why, allegedly, he moved fast to bury it. But here's the twist. Fans aren't mad about what he did. They're mad about how he did it. Cold, controlling, and maybe too late. More receipts dropping soon. Hit that subscribe on Juicy Reel and stay plugged in. So now the million-dollar question, where does this all leave King? Right now, he's caught between two worlds, the flashy public image his parents crafted and the raw, unfiltered life he's actually living. With a baby on the way, a partner who might be holding the biggest secret in the family's history, and a father allegedly more worried about brand deals than emotional support, King is standing on shaky ground. And let's not forget, the internet never sleeps. The same platforms that made him famous are now tearing apart every post, every live, every comment, looking for more clues. The whispers haven't died down, they've grown. Some fans are rooting for him to break free and tell his truth. Others, they're waiting for him to crash. It's a brutal spotlight, and King's standing dead center in it. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, sources say the Harris family is fractured. Tiny's allegedly caught between loyalty to her husband and love for her son. T.I. still trying to hold on to the man of the house image is losing grip on both the narrative and the people closest to him. And Big Nana, she's not backing down. She's still sitting on that alleged tape, still carrying the next Harris heir, and still not afraid to shake the whole system if pushed. What started as a messy leak has turned into something way bigger, a reckoning. The perfect family image, cracked, the empire, on edge. And the truth, it's clawing its way to the surface whether they're ready or not. So now the real question is, will King finally take control of his story, or will he be the next Harris to get erased from the spotlight? One comment online said it all. T.I., a rapper, cool, but he gotta stop coming for his own kids. Always running his mouth, always crossing the line. He's hurt their feelings in front of the world. He needs to grow up and act like a real father, be respectful, be kind. Those kids deserve peace, period. And honestly, that sentiment is everywhere. People are fed up. T.I.'s tough love act, it's looking more like public humiliation now, especially with everything swirling around King. But let's get one thing straight. This isn't just about one clip. Nope. Word on the street is that leaked video, that was just the opening shot. Multiple sources are saying King's alleged former DL partner didn't just drop the footage out of revenge, it was a warning. Allegedly, he demanded hush money, and when the check didn't come, he threatened to leak everything. And now comes the scariest part for the Harris family. There's allegedly another tape, one nobody's seen yet. Insiders claim this mystery footage allegedly features King spilling family secrets, things that were never supposed to go public. Not just personal stuff. We're talking deep behind the curtain confessions about what really goes on inside the Harris home. If that tape drops, it won't just be messy. It could be the end game. T.I.'s empire. The shows, the endorsements, the clean-cut image, it's leaking, and fast. And the wildest part? The one person T.I. probably thought he had under control, his own son, might be the one to burn it all down. This story's not just breaking, it's erupting. Hit subscribe to Juicy Real and stay locked in, because the final chapter might be the most explosive yet.
My son, think I ain't spoke to my son, think I ain't told my son, his mama, and his grandmamas, his ass going to prison. If you goddamn keep it up, his ass going to prison.
Then he want to talk about some other like this being shit. This being shit. No, I'm being real. You lying. You lying. You up here flagging. You're cat.
Don't be in this bitch. Wait till I come back in the market late night, and then it's just you, and I slap you up. Yeah. You trying to act off, son? All like this in front of all your peeps. Tell your mama I said Happy Mother's Day, and then Karen in my face and shit. Like what?
Welcome back to Juicy Real, the place where we break down the biggest scandals, the wildest drama, and the stories celebrities wish would stay buried. Today's spotlight, T.I.'s son, King Harris, and the storm that might finally catch up with him.
Stand by right here for me. 42, I'm 10 extend, 1 detain. Spread your legs slightly. I just need to pat you down.
I has been warning his boy for years to calm down before the streets swallowed his whole future, but now the talk is turning deadly serious. A judge could be lining up a 5-year prison sentence for King. 5 years behind bars. Exactly what T.I. predicted back in 2022 if King didn't slow his roll.
Yes, sir. Does your buddy have one as well? All right, just hang tight right here for me. Let me clear this. I don't want any accidental fires.
There's no safety. You gotta take.
There's no safety. Okay. Well, I'm not gonna mess around with that too much. Just set this down right here. Dude, step out for me. Yes, sir. Place your hands behind your back for me. All right, right now you're just being detained. You're not under arrest. We're gonna be at the church. All right, I appreciate you being cool, man. We're just gonna take a look at this information, make sure it's valid. Just take a step to the side for me.
Chilling, right? And honestly, nobody can act shocked about this. The signs were flashing bright red for a long time. Reckless driving that put lives at risk, that viral brawl inside Waffle House that had everybody talking, and those music videos where he kept flashing guns like they were props. King was stacking up bad moves like trophies, daring the law to catch him.
My son, think I ain't spoke to my son, think I ain't told my son, his mama, and his grandmamas, his ass going to prison. If you goddamn keep that shit up, his ass going to prison. Ain't no way around it. Ain't nothing I'm gonna be able to do about it. Can't nobody stop it but him. You know what I mean? I've already had that conversation. I've already made my peace with it. Because I know that energy. I was that energy. I know exactly how it's going.
Then came 2024, and it all hit at once. Police footage caught him nearly crashing straight into a cop car, pounding on the gas like he was invincible, a gun sitting right on his hip, and that dusty old 2022 warrant finally snapping back like a trap. It was like every reckless choice he ever made came crashing down in one night, and now the bill is due. What makes this whole situation even heavier is the timing. Just weeks after King Harris got hit with that arrest, he became a father. He was on social media proudly posting about his newborn, even dropping a track called Dear Son, trying to paint the picture of a young man ready to step up and take responsibility. For a second, it looked like fatherhood might finally straighten him out. But instead of baby bottles and family life, he's staring down a courtroom that could snatch him away for half a decade. So let's break down how King Harris, son of hip-hop royalty T.I., went from a promising legacy kid to possibly being locked away for 5 years. And trust me, the story behind it is even messier than you think. It all started in October 2024, the exact day King completely crashed out. He pulled out of a gas station in his BMW and almost slammed straight into a cop car. You can't script this type of disaster. It was reckless, raw, and caught in real time. Officers walked up and instantly knew something was off. First thing they catch? The strong smell of weed leaking out of the ride. Then they spot a gun strapped to his hip, like he was daring them to make a move. At that point, it was already over. They were taking him in no matter what. But when they ran his name through the system, things went from bad to catastrophic. Turns out King still had a warrant hanging over his head from way back in 2022. That case? Overspeeding, driving on a suspended license, and a DUI. And instead of handling it the way everybody else would, showing up in court and facing it head-on, King had just let it ride until the past came crashing back at the worst possible moment. That one mistake just sat there like a time bomb waiting to blow, and in 2024, it finally exploded. The arrest video leaked online, first through Badge Chronicles, then Vlad TV, and it runs almost 30 minutes long. And let me tell you, it's wild to watch. You see everything unfold, cops pulling King Harris out of the car, snatching the gun right off his hip, slapping on the cuffs, patting him down, and stuffing him into the back of the squad car. Now, King wasn't wilding out or throwing a tantrum, but you can see the irritation all over his face, like he knew deep down he had just torched his own shot at freedom. No slick talk, no smooth escape. This time, there was no way out. The video makes it crystal clear. King getting yanked out, cuffed tight, and shoved into the patrol car while the cameras kept rolling. One of the officers even admitted afterward that King stayed calm and cooperative through the whole process. But calm or not, the reality was brutal. He still ended up in DeKalb County Jail before being transferred over to Pickens. And just like that, the switch flipped. 1 minute, King was flexing hard on Instagram. The next, he was locked in a cold jail cell with the entire internet, watching his downfall like it was a movie premiere. That's the sting, because T.I. had already sounded the alarm on this years ago, way back in 2022, when he saw his son start spiraling out of control. He even jumped on Instagram to warn the world. T.I. made it crystal clear years ago, if his son didn't slow down, prison was going to be the only outcome. And he wasn't just talking like some worried dad hoping his kid would listen. He was speaking from scars, from someone who's been in those same cold cells himself and knew exactly how the game ends. Tip even said it straight up. Time is gonna be his teacher. And now that teacher has come knocking in the ugliest way possible. A 5-year sentence staring King in the face. So when clips of King's arrest started circulating online, fans instantly dug up that old video of T.I. warning everyone. Social media lit up. Some people said, "See, he spoke it into existence." while others felt sympathy, imagining how painful it must be for T.I. to watch his worst warning unfold in real time. Either way, the internet couldn't stop talking about how right he was. T.I. saw the energy, he clocked the pattern, and still, King didn't listen! And speaking of King not listening, we can't forget the Waffle House meltdown back in 2022. That was one of the very first public signs that something was spiraling. The video went viral. King in a screaming match with the staff, snapping back and forth like he owned the place. He was puffing his chest, trying to look untouchable, but instead of intimidating anybody, he came off entitled and totally out of control. The internet clowned him, and even T.I. couldn't defend that behavior. It was embarrassing, and it painted a clear picture of where things were headed. T.I. even went live after that Waffle House fiasco, sounding straight up baffled. He said he was perplexed, genuinely confused about why his son would even stop what he was doing, just to argue with a short-order cook. He couldn't wrap his head around why King felt the need to match that kind of energy at all. And that's the thing. This was one of those moments even T.I. himself couldn't excuse. Here's King wildin' out in that Waffle House argument, looking more like a hothead than a young man with a future. But if that drama wasn't embarrassing enough, the gun situation really showed how far off track King was drifting. Remember when T.I. and Boosie had to step in and check their sons on camera? That clip went viral for a reason. King and Boosie's son, Tootie Raw, were filming a music video, but instead of focusing on the bars and the art, they turned the set into a mini trap scene, waving around guns like it was all part of the show. That's when the dads had to shut it down. You can literally hear T.I. saying, "Why y'all even toting guns when you got girls right here?" Talk about love. From there, it turned into a full-blown lecture. T.I. started breaking down exactly how one wrong move with a weapon, or even having drugs nearby, could land them straight in jail for years. And the crazy part? He wasn't yelling. He wasn't being harsh. He was handing them the exact blueprint to avoid the same mistakes that wrecked his own past. It was real, father-to-son wisdom being laid out right there on camera. And you can still watch that moment yourself. T.I. and Boosie literally sat their sons down face to face, spelling it out plain. Flashing guns in music videos is nothing but a straight ticket to jail. They weren't sugarcoating, they weren't hyping, they were dropping real talk from men who've seen that life up close, and fans actually praised both dads for stepping in. People said it was refreshing to see them guiding their kids instead of just letting them spiral for the cameras. But the problem? You could see it all over King Harris. He wasn't really listening. Sure, he heard the words, but it was like the message bounced right off him, and that's when fans really started side-eyeing him. It wasn't just the wild music videos or the hot temper, it was his personal life adding fuel to the fire. When King popped up with a baby mama, the internet lost it. The mother of his child, known as Big Nana, instantly became a hot topic because of her age. Rumors swirled hard. People said she was way older than King. And let's keep it real, the internet didn't hold back. Some swore she was only messing with him for the money, others dragged her as a groupie chasing a check. But King? He didn't care one bit. Instead of running from the gossip, he leaned all the way in. He threw Big Nana a full baby shower, posted proudly about the pregnancy, and when their son was born in November 2024, he couldn't stop bragging like it was the happiest flex of his life. For King, it was family first, at least on social media. Here's a clip of him celebrating with Big Nana like everything was picture perfect. And not long after, King was online glowing, proudly talking about his newborn son. King even dropped a track called Dear Son, his big moment to show the world he was stepping up as a dad. He captioned the post with, November 5th, 8:09 a.m. Welcome King Jr. Time to take over. For a moment, it looked like maybe fatherhood was gonna humble him, like he was finally ready to change lanes and focus on something bigger than himself. But the timing couldn't have been worse. While King was cradling his newborn and flexing proud dad energy on Instagram, that arrest video was making its rounds online, reminding everybody that his legal mess was already waiting in the shadows. It was like two completely different versions of him colliding at once, the young father stepping up and the reckless son of T.I. already knee-deep in trouble. The saddest part? None of this was shocking. Fans had been warning for years that King's wild behavior was going to come back to bite him, and now, it all came full circle exactly the way people predicted. So, if that judge really slams King with a 5-year bid, don't be surprised if we see T.I. looking more crushed than furious. Because yeah, he warned him. Yeah, he tried to guide him. But when it's your own child standing in a courtroom shackled up, that pain hits on a whole different level. And anybody who's seen their podcast together already knows. The bond between T.I. and King is real. That's why this whole situation would hit him even harder, not just as a father, but as a man who worked so hard to rewrite his own story. And make no mistake, it's gonna leave a mark on T.I.'s image too, because the world is watching how this plays out. People are already dragging T.I., saying he failed as a father, that all the fame, money, and wisdom in the world couldn't stop his son from spiraling out. And if King really does get sentenced, those voices are only gonna get louder, especially since T.I. has always branded himself as the OG dad who knows better, who teaches lessons, and who sets the standard. But at the same time, one thing's always been clear. T.I. never hid the fact that he's gonna love King no matter how messy it gets. So you already know, even if he's disappointed, he's still gonna be right there in that courtroom, standing by his son through it all. And of course, the internet had a lot to say once the arrest footage and court updates started making the rounds. The reactions were split in every direction. Some people were clowning him, others were quietly impressed, and a few just hoped maybe this would finally be the wake-up call he needed. One fan even said, "King is enjoying every minute, knowing he might go viral. He knows he's being recorded. I'm glad he was respectful." And honestly, you can see it in the video. Even while he's being cuffed, King isn't lashing out, isn't fighting back. He's calm, maybe too calm, almost like he knew the cameras were rolling, and this was just another scene for the blogs to eat up. But that's the twisted part about all this. For King Harris, the line between real life and clout chasing has completely blurred. It's like even in the middle of being cuffed and facing a possible 5-year sentence, he's aware that every move is content. Every look, every gesture, every headline. It's all fuel for the internet circus. And that's why some fans don't know whether to feel bad for him or call it out as just another performance. Because on one hand, you've got a 20-year-old stepping into fatherhood, trying to act like he's building a legacy. On the other hand, you've got that same kid staring down charges that could strip everything away before it even begins. Meanwhile, the pressure on T.I. is insane. The man built his brand on being the example, the mentor, the one who knows the game, and yet here's his own son playing out the exact mistakes he's been warning against for years. It's a storyline that almost feels scripted. The hip-hop legend who tried to break the cycle, now forced to watch his heir repeat it right in front of the world. And make no mistake, the blogs, the fans, and the haters aren't gonna let this die down anytime soon. Whether King beats the case or ends up serving time, his every move is gonna stay under a microscope, because the world loves nothing more than watching a rise and a fall. Then came the crowd calling this King Harris's so-called street cred moment. One comment flat out said, "Man finally got his street cred." He's been telling y'all he outside, and that right there shows how twisted the whole situation is. because instead of focusing on his newborn son, people are acting like King is chasing a jail record just to prove he's real. But not every voice online was harsh. Some fans actually tried to give him grace. One person wrote, "He gonna be fine. He's been doing good since his son was born, so I'm wishing him blessings. He handled himself well." That's the other side of it. People hoping fatherhood will actually anchor him, even if prison ends up being part of the lesson he has to learn. For T.I., though, this is like watching history repeat itself in the ugliest way. The same system he once fought tooth and nail to survive is now threatening to swallow his own son whole. And the worst part? Deep down, T.I. saw it coming. He tried to steer King off that path, but the choices were already stacking up. So don't get it twisted. This isn't just King Harris wilding out for clicks or chasing headlines. This is the real deal. The possibility of 5 years behind bars. A consequence that could define his young life. And a brutal test for T.I. as a father. Because if that judge stamps this sentence official, King's story won't just be another viral moment. It'll be a hard, permanent lesson etched into his life forever. And trust me, this saga is far from over. If you don't want to miss the next twist, hit that subscribe button to Juicy Reel right now, because you already know we'll keep serving the drama as soon as it drops.
Look at them, y'all. It looked like Benny spit this boy out. Tiny, you got some explaining to do. Y'all, the rumors are starting with T.I. It's coming out that King is not his.
King Harris has been shaking up headlines in ways nobody saw coming. And trust me, the mess just keeps piling on. The latest whispers, people are saying Tom might not even be King's biological father.
That day, a day of my life.
Can you imagine? One of hip-hop's most famous families suddenly wrapped in rumors about bloodlines, betrayal, and lies. It all blew up right after father and son clashed in public at an Atlanta Falcons game, and the footage was shocking. King, who's already known for his hot-headed temper, was on Instagram live wilding out, arguing with the man in the stands. But instead of chilling, he doubled down, screaming, "I stand on business," like he was trying to prove something to the whole world. But T.I. wasn't having any of it. He stepped in quick, telling his son he was embarrassing the family, and you could feel the tension snap right there in front of the crowd. The argument escalated so fast that T.I. straight up put King in a headlock in front of everybody. Can you picture that? A rap legend wrestling his own son in public like it's a pay-per-view fight. What was meant to be a lesson.
Stop talking to me. This ain't your restaurant. This ain't your restaurant. Everything you make, I can pull out my pocket right now. I ain't tripping on you. I ain't tripping. Get the hell out of my face. I'm not talking to you. I'm not talking to you. Who the hell is he? What's your name? My name King. You know it and your mama know it. Tell your mama Happy Mother's Day. Tell your mama Happy Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day. File show.
A move to remind King who's really running the house turned into one of the most viral and humiliating moments this family's ever faced.